Hey, where are you guys? Anyway, I'm here at Proof with Andy and Jasmine and my special guest, John Hart.
Hey, good to see you. Can they hear us with the boss?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Yeah. First, introduce yourself to everybody.
I'm John Hart.
And what do you do?
Nothing. I drink a little. Oh, wait, no, Bill's here. Oh, no, I'm a professor at Hawaii Pacific University. Some of you might know me as Dr. J. I do some blues stuff at Anna's and several other places. And I just love listening to music.
Okay, so first question, when did the rock and roll bug hit you?
Little. My dad was a principal, but on the weekends he was a disc jockey at sock hops. And so I had the Elvis 45s, the Chuck Berry 45s. I'd go with him because my mom was a nurse. So I heard this stuff early on. For example, one day my dad brings this album home. He tells my mom, you need to keep this, they're going to be big. And so I wanted to know what it was. So he showed me the record and it was called Meet the Beatles. So yeah, early on for me.
Okay, and so...
What about you?
Actually, prenatal, my dad was a big jazz fan, and he would play music all the time. And my first song that I knew was Cal Jader's version of Soul Sauce, which was the Channel Poser song. The Channel came over from Cuba with my Dizzy Gillespie. That's the first song I knew. And funny because jazz doesn't really have lyrics too much, so I didn't know that music had lyrics until we started going to my grandma's house and in California, driving over in a certain part, we get up to 99, and then here comes Wolfman Jack. 599, and then the ink spots and platters, all that stuff came out.
Yeah. Now, have you been to Cuba?
No.
Oh, you need to go, given your background.
Yeah.
No, for me, the big radio station when I was little was CKLW. So I'm in Toledo. They're up in Windsor, right on the other side of the line from Detroit.
Yeah.
So they're like the northern Wolfman Jack, and they broadcast everywhere. And so, rock and roll and the Motown sound.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was really cool. So what are some of the earliest, when you got to be a teenager or whatever, what are some of the bands you got to see?
Okay, so even before that, so you've got that British invasion, right? So and I'm young. So Beatles, David Clark 5, Herman Hermits. So it's a Christmas '66, and I get what I want. The Monkees album, they're the big deal, right? And so I go to my friend's house. His sister gets a record for Christmas. It's Are You Experienced by the Jimi Hendrix Experience. And I listened to that, and all of a sudden the Monkees, the British invasion was just gone. And so Jimi was just so huge for me, and played a huge part of my life in terms of the music I listened to and who I got to meet. In terms of gigs, well, we're south of Detroit. So the first two big gigs I remember was Alice Cooper and the Amboy Dukes. And then the second one would have been Alice again with the Bob Seger system. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Saw Bob a lot. Bob was rock and roll. The Stooges, by then we're talking about 73.
Yeah.
They'd gone to LA by then. Yeah. And so, those are some of my first shows. What about yours?
1979, I saw a band called Triumph. And I guess it's a game tour. And then that whole summer, it was, next was AC/DC with Bon Scott, Richie Blackmore's Rainbow. Bill Graham used to have a thing called A Day on the Green.
Sure.
And it was the Rockets opening with Jimmy McCarty. Yeah. And then Nazareth was Al Clement on extra guitar. UFO without Michael Schenker. Jay Giles before they cut the hair with Centerfold. And then the headliner was Journey. And actually, I missed the band. It was Thin Lizzy, and it was the last show of Gary Moore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because after the show, Gary and Phil got a punch-up, and, what happened.
Well, Phil was a tough guy.
Yeah.
And Gary was always in and out of that band. He was never really a regular.
Yeah.
I always kind of thought they were the Irish Allman Brothers with the two lead guitar lineups.
Yeah, it's always been kind of... And go back a little bit, my first song I really recognized was Are You Experienced? Hey Joe.
Sure.
It was an AM station in Monterey called KMBY, and we, being 6 or 7, I had all that stuff too. But the Telecaster, the Stratocaster sound of Hey Joe, that whole thing, the way, that's still probably one of my favorite songs all the time. It was just crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Song's got a really interesting history if you look back on it.
Yeah.
Who really wrote it?
Yeah.
Who got the songwriting credit for it?
Yeah.
Did they steal it from somebody else?
Yeah.
It's a song with a really interesting
And then all the
history.
bands trying to cover at the time did Fast and Jangly. The Byrds did it. Deep Purple did it.
You're right.
Jimi,
The Leaves.
Yeah.
Also upbeat.
Yeah. And then Jimi takes it way down and really lets the guitar sing on it. It was like crazy. Yeah.
No, it's it's a classic song.
Yeah.
Classic song.
So fast forward, how did you get to Honolulu?
Well, my daughter, she's half Korean. I'm a single dad, and we're in the middle of Missouri, and she's the only kid of color in the whole school. And I'm going, this isn't going to work, okay? I had visions of her driving around the town square in a pickup truck with a kid with 3 first names and a gun rack and all that kind of thing. And so she loved the beach. So checked out where I could go. I had an offer Fort Lauderdale, offer San Diego, offer here. Took this one, and never looked back.
Yeah. I know if you can't tell, but John has a really cool Dark Side Moon shirt on. And I'm looking at it like, whoa, that's cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, let's talk about some of our fellow peeps here, like Clay.
Yeah. Well, I think my Clay connection is twofold. Number one is that I guess we have to really rewind back. So, I'm a few years older than you. So I get to go to school in Boston, right? I work in Boston College Radio. And it's college radio, but it's a major market. So I decided to do an interview show. And huge bands would do it, even though I was college, because it's the Boston market. And so I got to interview almost anyone I wanted. I mean, it was insane. And I got really picky. I would interview bands because I wanted to. I turned down an interview with Fleetwood Mac with the big money lineup because I wasn't particularly interested in them musically. I would have interviewed the Peter Green band, right? Yeah. And so, but what I was able to do along the way was I was still such a Hendrix fan. Anyone I would meet, I would collect, Jimi stories, Jimi recordings. This is back before the internet. I mean, a lot of my stuff is out there now. But, back then you had to know somebody who had it. So anyone who's a guitarist knew me and they said, you're the guy with $200 unreleased Hendrix. So I got to meet a lot of great people that way. So, I come here and I missed the Stevie Ray Vaughan segue.
Yes.
So I'm in Houston working on my master's degree. And there's someone that goes, you got to see this guy does Hendrix. I'm going, everybody does Hendrix. No, this guy's really good. So I go, it's an old roadhouse called Fitzgerald's. Still open. And here's Stevie basically doing the first album and, a bunch of Hendrix covers.
Yeah.
So, by then I knew how to do the hustle. So I go backstage, knock on the door. His manager answers. And, can I help you? And I said, ask Stevie. He wants to meet someone with 200 hours of unreleased Hendrix. He goes, you wait right there. And about 30 seconds later, And so I knew Stevie from the clubs all the way to the helicopter. So when we're here, I'm doing a CD for the State Department. Fast forward to now, to Honolulu town. And I need some female vocalists. So someone gives me a lead on this girl that's playing down at Sand Island R&B. Remember that place?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we go down there. It's her last show. She's moving to the Big Island. But her backing band is these young Filipino kids nailing Stevie Ray Vaughan, nailing it. And you know, the guitarist was Clay. And so, you know, I was happy. And he was a sponge. You know, I would give him CDs, he'd listen, I'd give him more CDs. So, you know, Roy Buchanan, Roy Gallagher, we just kind of went through the Parthenon, yeah? And he absorbed all that. And so, you know, I did what I could. You know, I had him open up for Pablo Cruz, Aerosmith, Sheryl Crow, probably some bands I've forgotten. Said, what else can I do here? I said, nothing. Shipped him to Austin. Was in Austin for a while. He came back. Better than ever now. Truly, you know, in my mind, easily the best blues guitarist in this town.
Yeah, I saw the
Go see Clay.
Clay Campagna. Hey, Clay, what's up?
Hey, friends of Adam.
Yeah. Because I knew him before, and he came back, I think 2 weeks after that. Vaughan had him guesting, and he was razor sharp, and he was professional. I mean, he laid into a lead. Just the whole body leaned back and jammed it. It was like, I haven't seen that in such a long time. Yeah. It was just incredible. I mean, he's killing it. And I guess what days he plays at Anna's?
He's at Anna's second and fourth Sundays for like 7 to 11.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. It's very loose. He's picked up a jazz saxophone player, adds a whole other dimension.
Jason, we're talking about you.
Mm-hmm. Ernie Accarella, when he's not touring with Ron Artiste.
We'll get to Ron and Ernie pretty soon.
But Clay's great.
Yeah, he's amazing. Let's jump into that. I mean, the two guys right now from the island is blowing up. I mean, more than I thought they would, but it's Mike Love and Ron Artiste.
Yeah.
Ron just got the West Coast tour for Jack Johnson.
Yeah. Well, you know, I've seen Ron. What I appreciate Ron is that, you know, everything's very professional. You know what I mean? You know, the video is professional, the staging is good, you know, all that kind of thing, you know, is down.
Yeah.
I mean, the question at some point becomes the Gary Clark question.
Yeah.
You know, can you get the right song, the right audience to push you over?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, they already located to Portland, right?
Yeah.
And then Ernie's back and forth all the time. But before the pandemic...
Well, and at personal level, what I really like about Ron is that he's figured out how to be married and do it.
Yeah.
Man, if you're a musician, it's tough. Yeah. He's figured out how to have the wife, the kids, they go on tour. Yeah. And, you know, most musicians just don't make that.
Yeah.
And at a personal level, huge respect for that.
Yeah. And then just relocating was a big part of it, too. Henry Capono on the second round of kids, they took him everywhere. They toured when they're, you know, before they got schooling, and then during school they toured on the breaks and stuff like that, but he took them everywhere. Yeah. That's really important. Yeah. And the other guy is Mike Love. Mike Love is just, sludging away, doing things, and he's always middle rank for every stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the challenge is, my experience in the industry is it's not like this.
Yeah.
It's plateaus. Yeah. You go and you hit the wall.
Yeah.
And then can you jump that next wall?
Yeah.
And, you know, and at some point bands hit that wall and they can't jump over.
Exactly.
I mean, I remember being with Stevie when he hit one of those walls. Mm-hmm. And they had priced themselves out of the clubs, but they couldn't get enough of the big gigs yet. And you could really see it being close. In other words, if they don't start getting big gigs, it's over. You know. So, you know, you see that. And, you know, and so much of this is timing, as you and I know.
Yeah.
You know, we know great bands that never made it, bands that were actually kind of mediocre that did, right? Yeah. So it's one of those interesting things, right? You know.
I got lucky with the bands I worked with. It was a niche that needed to be filled. No one had that stuff. The Metallicas, all that stuff. And Metallica played 60 gigs in San Francisco. I think in less than a year and a half, they got a record contract. Independent one. 2 years, less than 2 years later, they're on Elektra Records, and then 3 years later, they're like on huge tours. But they're just a timing thing. There's the right place, the right time to move what was going. We have right now normal bands, or there's no click going on kind of thing. I mean, there's stuff going on, but it's like if you're a touring band, you're right. You have to find how you're going to do this.
Yeah.
How you going to get the video support, the songs, the management,
You know, gosh, I mean, the industry today is such a challenge, right? I mean, I've lived long enough to see functionally the death of commercially recorded music, right? You don't make money from a CD. You don't make any money from Spotify. So what happens? Now, if you're someone like who's already made money, Bob Dylan can figure that out. He can sell his catalog. He can do a one-off recording of Blowing in the Wind and have a couple of super fans, bid for it. But, for everyone else, what's the motivation to write the songs and get you stuff heard? In our days, it was all about, the record companies control everything, blah, blah, blah. Well, now it's a free-for-all on the internet, and I'm not sure if it's any better. Because how do you get yourself heard in the middle of all that noise? So it's still marketing, timing, image, management, things like that.
And then live, non-stop live. There's 4 or 5 bands now that I'm following. It's just live. I mean, a band called Starbenders, they're out of Atlanta. And they just go into it they can. They have merch. They have a thing going on, so it's kind of cool. But for me, being a photographer, that's kind of cool because you get a hungrier live sound. They're out there, and every show is going to have to make or break them. Back in the day, we can, you could show up. Like I saw anybody sometimes just being drunk. Or Sammy Hagar just having an okay day. But now you can't have that. You have to be on all the time.
Well, I remember George Benson telling me the proof is in the pudding. You support live music. And the bands that are out there, I believe there's always a place for that. If they tour hard enough and see enough, they'll find their audience, hopefully. Knock on wood. But we all remember every band in the classic era did their 300 gigs a year. All of them. And then on your 65 days off, you had to record the album. The Leonard Skinner torture tours. B.B. King was an old man dying of diabetes. His kids still had him out touring, right? Jimi Hendrix's first American tour. Look at the bookings. It's like wherever they got a gig, that's where they went. There wasn't any progression.
There was. The touring machine wasn't there yet.
No.
There's a band called Iron Maiden, and they have their own plane, and they tour this way and never go backwards. So jet lag is a minimum. There's like.
But they've learned based on those other bands. Matter of fact, Hendrix's management was, I think, figured out a lot of that stuff. They were the first ones to do. Vertical ownership. In other words, Concerts West was sponsored by Hendrix's management. So, they promoted the concert. They booked it. Joe Bonamassa cuts through the middleman. In other words, Bonamassa his management company rents the venue directly. There is no promoter.
That's exactly
when they play. When they play here, they call me up. Because they don't need to go through, whatever, we won't name names, whatever promoters around right now.
Exactly. I think Zeppelin, Peter Grant was.
Well, the Peter Grant thing, Peter Grant was a tough SOB. I don't know how many stories I want to say about Peter. But Peter was a tough SOB.
So, did you ever see Hendrix?
Nope, too young.
I just want to be
I always thought because I love Jimi, God gave me Stevie. And
Stevie came along in a time that the music scene needed him, because before that we had Robin Trower doing the electric Hendrix, we had Frank Marino doing that thing too, and then Oli Roth from the Scorpions, they're all doing that cross-cut traffic kind of thing, and Stevie comes and does the blues Hendrix, which is way different.
Well, I remember the 80s, MTV, the video was important. You didn't have a video, you couldn't make it, right? Duran Duran, blah, blah, blah. And even the rock bands, you remember the 80s, they were singing to a lot of tapes. And at the time when, to me, it was all, the music was second to the video, the bands are lip syncing, it all gone to hell in some ways, right? Even rock was spandex, hairy chested guys. I mean, not rock's finest moment in my mind. Stevie was the real deal.
Yeah.
And I think people recognize that, starting with Jackson Browne and David Bowie.
Yeah.
He was old school, right?
Yeah.
Live in your face, ripping the blues. He could play it.
Yeah.
He could sing it. And that's what he did. And he was very, artistically on it. No compromise.
Yeah.
I remember once a conversation with him and Huey Lewis, who was a big fan. Huey got him to open when Huey was, all that in a bag of chips, and Steve was just starting. And they're both with the same record company. And Huey's going, look, just give them one single, and they'll let you do the rest of the record. And Stevie goes, no. We'll do what we do, and if they like it, they like it, and if they don't like it, they don't like it. And that's artistic integrity.
And the funny thing is, we used to go to record stores. We had an independent record store.
I remember record stores
in Monterey called Recycle Records. That was the place we congregated. And there was 2 highly anticipated albums that year. One was the first Smiths album, then it was Stevie Ray Vaughan, and everybody had to have that album. It would just, you couldn't keep it in stock.
Yeah.
And once the word came out, it would just, doors open.
No, I got out of college, worked at a couple now famous record stores in Cambridge and Boston, and it was that was a big deal. One of them was right down the block from the Rathskeller, the Rat in Boston.
I've been there.
Boston's home of punk rock. I saw Johnny A there, saw the Runaways there, Will Alexander there. Yeah, good times. But boy, man, don't drink too much because you don't want to use the restrooms. Do you remember the bathrooms back then?
Yeah.
Holy cow. Saw the Runaways in there, and they brought in their arena system into the Rat, right? Which is a club this size. We're here at Proof, and, I think my ears are still ringing.
Motorhead did that to Bill Graham's old Waldorf. And Louis Cole played under Software Underbelly, and they convinced him to keep the PA system there.
Now that is, if you like PAs, one of the nice things about, our friend Glenn Anderson over at Hawai'i Bryant.
Yeah.
That PA system, or at least the monitors, those are Metallica's monitors.
Shout out to Hawai'i Bryant Social Club.
Well, and Hawai'i Bryant's a great sound system.
Yeah.
There are places with more famous names in town. We won't say what they are, but the sound system at Hawai'i Bryant's, you want to see a band, you want to hope they'll go there.
Yeah. Amazing.
And and Glenn and his son do a great job.
Yeah. So let's talk about, because you do a thing for Stevie, you do a thing for Bonzo, you do a thing for Hendrix. Explain those. For everybody out there doesn't know, John does a lot of heart and soul for this town, promotes a lot of people, has these jam sessions, during certain people's birthdays and stuff, and then...
Well, the things that people really seem to like are what we call the birthday bashes.
Yes.
So we do them around people's birthdays. Eric Clapton, Yvonne Elliman, would come show up, and that's a big deal, right? Yvonne's, people talk about Don Howard. Yvonne's the most famous one from Hawaii. She's been to the show 3 times. No one else has been to the show 3 times, right? Jesus Christ Superstar, Eric Clapton, Saturday Night Fever, right? No one can touch that. And she would actually show up at Anna's and sing because it was Clapton's birthday. And the Hendrix birthday parties are probably the most famous ones. Last one we did at Hawai'i Bryant's, SRO, and you couldn't buy a ticket. Stevie Ray Vaughan's one has a lot of fun. I also love the other ones. Bonzo's birthday party is great because it's always about the guitarist, right?
Yeah.
Bonzo's about the drummers. So we get together enough drummers, we do that, right? We've had them for B.B. King, had them for Muddy Waters, had them for Robert Johnson. Might do another Robert Johnson one real soon. And that would be featuring Clay and Boogie.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful because if you've not heard Boogie, Boogie's old school country and has the blues voice.
Yeah.
Clay, of course, with guitar. You put the 2 of them together, it's just magic.
That's Gian Boogie Sanders, guys. Yeah, and I saw a clip of those two guys finally jamming together, and I thought, wow,
Yeah, we
it.
put that together at Anna.
Yeah.
They might be doing it. I'm trying to get them to do it again this Sunday.
Yeah.
So check the Facebook stuff. Yeah.
Sure.
No, when Boogie's there, we'll let you know.
So what's going on now?
Drugs. No. Dealing with the actuary table, as you might be. I'm a little ahead of you on that. But, all my friends are getting older. A lot of them are passing on. Every day we pick it up and something that, we know, either we know or we love, is passed on. And, dealing with that. So, any of them that are still around. Couple things. Johnny A, gonna have him out here September 15th. He'll be at the Blue Note. I'm gonna have him at HPU doing a master class, probably on the 12th. Okay, who's Johnny A? Very excellent guitarist from Boston. He got hired in the last generation of the Yardbirds, so he had to learn the Eric Clapton parts, the Jeff Beck parts, the Jimmy Page parts. He's also a huge Beatles fan, a huge Hendrix fan, very good guitarist. He also is the absolute best guitarist I've seen at doing these live overdubs.
Okay.
Remember, like Tabata does a little bit, but Johnny takes it to a whole new level. So that'll be at HPU at Aloha Tower on the 12th. Then he's going to play the Blue Note September 15th. Bob Gruen. He can vouch for Bob Gruen.
Yeah.
If you were to list 5 rock photographers and you do not list Bob Gruen, your list is wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's other good ones. I mean, Marshall, we can list the other ones.
Yeah.
Of course, Bill knows who they are. But, John Lennon's personal photographer, the Sex Pistols' personal photographer, the CBGB's photographer.
Yeah.
I mean, Bob is a legend. And it's tough to get Bob, but Bob and I are tight. Bob promises me he will come out this school year. Okay. So when that happens, he's always great. And we want to see him.
Yeah.
Another person is Stanley Jordan.
Yes.
Stanley's one of the great jazz guitarists. Was doing this way before Eddie Van Halen ever was, with all due respect. And by the way, Stanley told me he got it from Jimi.
Really?
Yeah, he saw Jimi at Woodstock doing it with one hand, and he said, well, why can't I do it with 2 hands? Although as a jazz guy, tapping had been going on for years before these guys rediscovered it. But I'd like to get Stanley back out here for Black History Month, which will be early next year. So neat things. Johnny A, Bob Gruen, Stanley Jordan. Neat things. Things happen in Honolulu.
Wow, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I gotta tell you a quick story.
Please.
During the pandemic, I was at my buddy's house on the North Shore, and she had 2 red rocking chairs. And I thought, because people have been yelling at me for years to do my own podcast. And like, and so I thought, it'd be great if these 2 red rocking chairs all around the island. And I talked to, Damon, I talked to Linda, and it was cool, but it somehow didn't work out. So 6 weeks ago, I walked into Anna's, and he's at the bar, and we started talking and going, this is it. All I gotta do is put the tripod up, put the camera, go live. You don't have to know anything, just right there. So, you're like inspired me to get this part of my life going.
Well, I'm really excited because, it's great for me to be the inspiration, but you're the one that has to do it.
Yeah. No, and when, it was fun because I have all these great friends, and it's a pandemic, I haven't seen anybody. This is a good way to get reacquainted, and like all you guys out there in Facebook land and stuff to meet my buddies who you've seen photographs or talk about for 20 years or so. So now it's time to show up and hello. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and don't be afraid to get back outside. Be safe, but get back outside. And for God's sake, support your local culture. You know, support live music. They need that. I mean, they didn't work for 2 years. Your favorite bar, many of them aren't there anymore. You know, your favorite restaurant, local restaurant. And please consider supporting local, not the chain. Go to the local bar, not the chain bar. Go to the local restaurant, not the chain restaurant. You know, go see your local bands. I mean, it's really important. I remember a friend of mine, do you know Dave Newman?
Yeah.
You know, Dave, one of the master bartenders. Hopefully we'll be opening up Pint and Jigger again in the Aloha Hotel. Mm-hmm. Surprise, surprise. What's the problems? Permits, as it always is. But Dave said something really good the other day where he said he and his girlfriend anymore don't, when they go out to eat, they don't talk about what kind of food they want. They talk about what restaurant do we want to go support.
Yeah.
So they stay open. And so, you know, I hope people think that way. I think that's a good way to think.
Yeah. That's where we're here at Proof.
At Proof.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, this is a place with history.
Yeah.
In the historic Blaisdell Hotel. Been here for years. Different owners. One of my, Jasmine is here now, does a great job. Some guy behind the bar, I don't know who he is. But Josh Hancock, remember, had this bar for a while. Josh 86, right? Andy, of course, remembers Camera Pivot. Yeah. Right? Remember Josh? Yeah. Josh still around? Yeah. Well, you know, Josh was, manages the restaurant at the museum. At the art museum, yeah. But to me, kind of like the godfather of the alternative scene here, right?
Yeah.
He started it. He shepherded it. You know, he didn't sell cheesecake. Private joke. But yeah. So this place has history. So stop by. You know, Chapman Lane. It's still here. Nice place. And the ventilation is fixed. Pizza's back. Come by.
Well,
Bill will buy you a drink if he's here.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks, man. It was fun.
Oh, always did.
Yeah. You got anything in your water glass?
Yep.
Cheers.
Nostrovia, Slancha. Remember, come on down to Proof. Say hi. Say hi to Andy. Say hi to Jazz. And be nice to people.
Cool. Very good. Okay, see you guys next week, man. Aloha.